welcome to episode 43 of New Indian Woman podcast, airing first in early June 2021, and I'm your host Krishna. In this episode, we continue our conversation with the amazing Dr. Lalitha from Sittilingi, a remote village in Tamil Nadu. In part 1, that is episode 42, we talked about her engagement in the community as a medical doctor, growing a mud single-room hospital to a 35-bedded tribal health center, focusing on community health, and then moving on to farmers groups engaged in organic agriculture and revival of the Lambadi art through Porgai, thereby touching the lives of people in 20 plus villages. We talked about what all her primary roles are now, what led her to choose this, what kind of challenges she faced, and how she handled those. Today, let us continue our discussion with her. When you talk about this, yes, there is the benefit of looking back over the years, but I also understand that you were living that dream. That challenge itself was a dream. I understand and accept it. But pardon me for asking this, but are you saying at no point during that time you felt, did we make this right choice? Should I go back and choose a much more comfortable option in a nearby town or something? Should I do something like this much later in life? Those kind of questions, did they come up?
No, I don't think so. Because there will be ups and downs. That happens to everyone, no, whatever work you do. But the conviction, you're clear that what you're doing is right. And what you're doing is needed. And there is also a strong element of selfishness, I would say, in this, because it is not that people are benefited out of this work. It is not that alone. It is mainly that I will get satisfaction by doing this. That also is there, for each person. I think we were clear, both of us, very clear that what you are doing is the right thing, and that is what you have always dreamt of doing. So we haven't thought like that. No, enough is enough. Let us get back.
I do not have words. The satisfaction of facing all these challenges and doing that as a dream, if you are referring to that as selfishness, I wish we had lots more selfish people in this world. What a better place it would be. Tell me, how did you handle this? The snake venom in the fridge, always, you were referring to that. But there is challenges of raising children in that place, handling education while doing all this. How was that aspect of it done?
So Harsh was 3-year-old when we came here, and Abhay, our younger son, he was born after coming here. We have brought them up more or less independent of both our families. But they have looked after them when we have been away for 2 weeks or something or more, 2 weeks or more at a stretch. And we have had a lot of challenges when the boys were very young. But the whole team at any given point of time have supported us with this. Both of them didn't go to school till they were age 9.
Okay.
They were partly homeschooled, but I would say that mostly community schooled. Though many of our friends and families have blamed us during those years, that we are playing with our children's lives and all that, we didn't have any self-doubts because we were very sure that the exposure they were getting and the learnings that they were having were very rich, much richer than any other child of that socio-economic educational class that we belong to. That we were very clear. So it's like in their early years they were brought up by the community and they were educated by everyone in the community. And we did only one small part in that.
So much of clarity of thought and so much of trust. How did you handle the financial part? Because most often when we hear of people going out and doing things, maybe the parents have put enough money, if the children can go and do all these things, they can take these risks. It's the kind of impression one forms and lot of stories one hears like that. But when you went there, very clearly you did not start with one 10-bedded hospital first. You started with one room, and over 30 plus years it has grown. So very clearly there were financial challenges, not only in terms of running the hospital, which obviously is not an easy thing to do, but even in terms of your own survival, running the family, all that. So how was it handling that part of it?
Yeah, so the financial challenges were perhaps the least of the challenges, I would say. We will take it, like you said, in two separate things. One, the financial needs of the work. In the early years, not the first 3 years, first 3 years, we were supported by an organization called Action Aid India. But after that, we have struggled quite a lot some years. And there was someone willing to give a sustenance fellowship for just both of us as salaries to both of us. But we divided that as salaries for the whole team and also for the other work. Like that. There were years when we wouldn't know that whether we will have money to give salaries next month, like that. Now, also for certain specific needs, we don't find people to support. There are some people to a whole lot of people to support for certain things, but there are specific needs, which sometimes people don't understand. But for most things, we have been getting money. We may not have anything when we start something, any money at all. We'll understand that, okay, there is a need and you have to do it and you need money for it, and we'll start it. And when we start it, we wouldn't have anything. But by the time we end the work, we would have surplus. That is our experience, because there are a whole lot of people ready to support and a whole lot of goodwill circulating. So that always helps. And as far as personal finances are concerned, we have not felt any difficulty at all, because to start with itself, fortunately, both our families, we didn't have the responsibility of financially supporting anyone in the family.
But you did not have others supporting you. You had to be on your own feet, right?
Yeah, that is there. The thing is that it is basically learning to live in line with the resources. That's it. And we have been quite contented with that. Our basic needs are very limited, and it is possible. It's not like in the early, maybe sometime in soon after independence in India, where you had this voluntary organization where people volunteered without any money. So that there was a period like that. I don't think any of this work in India is like that now anymore. Because even if you work in the remotest of places, there are people to support. You can have enough funding to sustain yourself. If you are ready to accept that these are our basic needs, those things will be definitely taken care of. One major thing which people always talk about is children's education. When we talked about going for a work like this, which is not as lucrative or remunerative as other work.
Right.
But I think what happened with us was that we didn't worry about it. We just focused on our work. And so the universe conspired to make it happen. I
I
think,
like it.
yeah. So we were clear that what we are doing is right, and we continue doing it. So things will happen. No, that kind of a trust has always.
Yeah.
I can talk about several instances that happened in our life. So their education, our son's education, they have always studied on their own merit and with scholarships which we never thought will come to them, but it has come to them. And we have spent very little on their education at all, no. And both of them, if you say, they had perhaps right from schooling, because they were till 9 they were here, but from 4th standard to 8th standard, 12th standard, they were in Rishi Valley School, Madanapalli, J. Krishnamurti Foundation School, and later also in their college and this thing, they had perhaps the best of the education possible in their streams. It all happened without us worrying about it, and or without us spending much on it.
This movement, okay, one is from being a clinical doctor to doing so much in terms of running the hospital with your husband, figuring out so many aspects. So there you also get into a lot of the administrative aspects, training aspects, resource aspects. Then later on, when you talked about almost shutting down the hospital for half a week and then figuring out what is required, finding out about organic farming, helping form those associations, and then later Porgai. So, what I see in this as an outsider is how you, I'm sure at every point there were people with you, but even then, I'm looking at you as somebody who has evolved and adapted to the various needs. So, did you find that challenging? Because your training, specialization, everything is in some area, and then life has trained you, and then you have taken up so many more roles. Constantly, you have been evolving to do so many roles. So, I'm very curious about that journey of yours.
I think that happens to most people's lives because what you learn in college, I think when you start working, I think it won't be the same. All of us will have to adapt. But the thing is, as a doctor, especially when I was doing my PG and also when Regi was also doing his PG, we were clear that we are going to work in a place where there are no other doctors. We have tried to learn then itself, when we were doing our PG itself, to learn things which we will be able to do in a place where there are no other help. And
Yeah.
also, while in Gandhigram, similarly, we continued learning skills which no doctor otherwise has to learn. For example, when we came here to Sittilingi, we had to train everyone. Normally, when a doctor goes to a operation theater, she only has to operate. Everything else, things are there. It is autoclaved. The nurses are there. The patient is prepared. Everything is there. You only have to wash and go do the surgery and come out. But then we had to train our girls, our health workers, to right from making a gauze piece to a pad, to how to sterilize it, how to prepare a patient, how to right from giving enema to shaving to I don't know what all, sterilizing the theater to autoclaving. These are
Yeah.
things all in the lab. To do
Yeah.
basic tests in the lab, these are things which we study in our first year, second year MBBS. That's it. That we don't have to. But we had to learn all this to train others. That was part of the whole thing because it is the belief that it is possible to train communities, people from the communities to do this, and that is much more sustainable. And in order to do that, you have to train, and you won't get
Correct.
someone else to come and train. So you learn how to do it, and also from the experiences of others who have done similar things. Yeah. So and also the other skills. Late we are both not community health people, but we work with the community. Our specialty is not community health. Regi is an anesthetist. I'm an obstetrician. So, in addition to working in the hospital, you work with the community. You learn things from people. A whole lot of things we have learned from people in the community here, and also from the experiences of others who have worked similarly. And also
Yeah.
later about farming and also about craft and business, things which we had no clue about. But it was the need. So basically, understanding what is the need and responding to that need, not only with efforts, but also training yourself, the knowledge and skills needed for that. Not only us, the whole team has done that.
Right. I interpret this as having that vision, and that vision itself has changed over a period of time, and constantly working on it, looking at every opportunity to train yourself. Okay, maybe this is also I need to do. So, like you were saying, right from your PG days, you're looking at, okay, if I have to run a hospital in a community on my own, this is how I need to be prepared to do all these things. Something about having that clarity in terms of this is my dream, this is the challenge I want to take up, and using every opportunity to learn and from each other and from all the opportunities. That's how I see it. Earlier, multiple times you were referring to the basic needs. And here I can't but not say, when we meet you, I have had occasions to meet Lalitha personally. And Lalitha, you come across as someone very simple, very humble, very unassuming. Listeners, if you see Lalitha in a crowd, you won't see this is the person who has impacted lives of people in so many villages, done amazing things that we have spoken about. This particular aspect of you, Dr. Lalitha, in terms of how you dress, how you carry yourself, the humility with which you interact, all of this, is it a conscious choice? Is it part of your nature?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a conscious choice, and you develop yourself. Your nature develops like that. What you want to be. I think the biggest inspiration in this for me is my father, who was an extremely simple person in his lifestyle. And I have always respected him for that and also envied him for that. He was a chartered accountant, and perhaps the only chartered accountant in Kerala who didn't want to and didn't have a car, who
Hmm.
even till later years in his life went around locally in a bicycle and always used public transport for his travel. I have always envied that kind of simplicity which my father had, and I think I don't have the courage to have even 10% of what he was. That so I think that he was one great inspiration. I think many people I have met and who were mentors, who had been inspirations, they are all very, very simple people with a lot of humility. So I have always associated that with greatness. It's a value. It's a great value, and we always, as individuals, we work on improving ourselves. What I am today, to
Mhm.
try to be a better person tomorrow. That is how we do. So this is some value which I have always cherished as a great value, and that is what I am trying to.
So nicely put. Such a parenting influence or a tip that you have shared in that particular example while talking about your father as well. Tell me, all these things, there may have been so many days where it was like a bad day, where generally you feel so many challenges are there, you are not feeling your best. What keeps you going on those days? People who inspire, I've always felt that how they deal with their bad days, there is so much to learn in that. It's not as if every single day is nicely put there out for them to win. They go through lots of challenges, but like you earlier said, the courage one has, it's very important. I'm always curious to understand how you handle your bad days.
Yeah, so I think it starts with when the day starts. I get up every morning and I tell myself that whatever happens today, I'll develop strength to manage it. Just for today. There are certain days when you know that when you end the day itself, night, you know that certain things are not right and it's very depressing, and the next day is going to be worse. But you get up and start the day, things that whatever happens, I'll somehow manage it. So I think that has been of rescue. I'm not saying that every day had been the same. Like you said,
Yeah.
there will be some days who are just more you are down, and the thing is that there is nothing that is not manageable. That kind of a decision, I think that
Hmm.
helps.
Now, looking back at all those years, I can't imagine you having had any time to relax and all that. Assuming you managed to find some time here and there, what are the things that you, or even in the last year, what are the things that you choose to do if you get some free time? In this interaction, I heard you talk about reading, so I think that may be a choice. But what other things that you like to do if you get some spare time?
I read, I listen to music, I see films, light films. Nowadays, I don't watch any very serious films. There is enough seriousness around my life that as an entertainment, I usually don't see very serious films. There was a point in
Okay.
life, but now I watch lighter films. I sometimes paint,
Oh, nice.
and also being out in nature. If it's a very short time, you
Hmm.
get some 10-15 minutes in between before you start work, then just being outside, watching and listening to nature, that refreshes.
Great. I would like to ask, what are the dreams that you have now? Maybe dreams for yourself or Porgai, whatever.
Porgai, I don't know specifically because it is evolving very organically. But I am hoping that there will be someone else to take over at least some of my responsibilities in Porgai. Because
Hmm.
I find that I am stuck in Porgai. Because if you look at our time here in Sittilingi, each 5 year had been something new. I was involved deeply in something right
Hmm.
from 93 for first 5 years, and then the next 5 years I was deeply involved in something, and then train others, and then move on to something else, then hand over it to them, and then move on to something else which was needed at that time. But then Porgai, for some reason, I'm stuck with, because it is a different thing. It is very different from whatever we have done till now, and the market is urban, and you need someone to communicate with that urban market, and we don't have people. For all our other work, we have worked with people here. Porgai also is like that, but for a specific role in Porgai, we don't have people here because it has to deal with an urban market. Yeah, so I'm hoping that someone else will be there to take over at least part of my responsibilities before I move on to something more which is needed in the valley.
Hmm.
One thing is that in all this work with women, right from the hospital to the community health work to watershed to the farming and the Porgai, I have found out that alcoholism is a major issue and
Hmm.
something we have to work on. And I am very passionate about it. But it is a major work. You need a group of people and dedicated to that, and we have to work with several groups of men and women to make a difference in that. So that is something which I would like to work on in future. And also a complete watershed. We have already started working on the watershed in the valley, watershed development in the valley
Hmm.
for the last 2-3 years. That is also something passionate, so which I would want to work more on.
Wish you all the best for someone to help you in Porgai and for you to take up these areas of focus in terms of watershed and addressing alcoholism. You were so inspiring, not just to budding doctors, but to all women. What would be your message to women?
I would request them to understand the reality that we are not weaker sex. I'm very clear that it is not like that. We are actually stronger. So I think that every woman should understand. And the second thing will be not to accept patriarchy and give in to it. Even women, patriarchy is propagated not by men alone. Women also
Correct.
had been accepting and giving in. Okay, that is how it is.
Hmm.
And that is why a lot of things are happening that way. Why women are being exploited. And to mothers, I have a request to raise their sons to respect women as equal or more than equal individuals. I think mothers have a great role in that. There are exceptional men who understand by themselves and
Right.
respect. There are many like that. But for a majority, I think they have to be trained from young age. And I think mothers have a role in it. And so if you want the gender equations of our society has to change and women are considered equal or more than equal, I think men have to change. And I think mothers have a great role in that.
Very, very important messages. And it's very rare that we hear people talk about responsibilities that women have while asking for equality and to remove patriarchy. So I find this very refreshing, actually. So, Dr. Lalitha, we have come to the end of this. I wish we could go on, but this itself is quite a long episode. I loved every minute of it. What we will do is we will have show notes where we will give details of reaching out to Porgai and the Tribal Health Initiative also. So, through the Porgai email ID that we will share, in case any of you would want to reach out to, you can reach out to Dr. Lalitha. And you could visit Porgai website to see the amazing designs. And the hospital has a very unique kind of a sponsorship scheme, which I really love. If any of you want to know more about this, please visit the websites. We will share those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming to New Indian Woman podcast, Dr. Lalitha. It has been so wonderful speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna.